We all make mistakes. That's just being human. But there's something really interesting about the way people handle being wrong. Some own up, apologize, and move on. Others? Well, others double down, deflect, or just vanish from the situation entirely. And if you've ever been left baffled by someone's refusal to say, "I'm sorry," there's a decent chance astrology can shed some light. Today, we're diving into the 5 zodiac signs that rarely, if ever, apologize, even when they're clearly in the wrong. We're also bringing in real-life examples from celebrities who've sparked headlines or subtle controversy, perfectly aligning with the traits of their zodiac sign. These aren't just zodiac descriptions. They're personality deep dives with real stories behind them. Let's get into it. Number 5. Libra. All right, time to pivot into a sign that might surprise you. Libra. The peacemakers of the zodiac. The diplomats. The ones who just want everyone to get along. You'd think they'd be handing out apologies like candy, right? Not so fast. Here's the twist. Libras will say sorry if it keeps the peace, sure. But when they're actually in the wrong, especially when they know they're in the wrong and they've been caught, that's when things get murky. See, Libras care a lot about appearances. They hate being seen as the bad guy. It disrupts their internal image of harmony and balance. If admitting fault means disrupting that perfect balance or making themselves look less than charming or morally upright, they can dance around the apology like a pro. Let's talk about Kim Kardashian, born October 21st, a Libra. Now, Kim is the queen of brand, image, and diplomacy. She knows how to manage PR, how to smooth over feuds, how to spin narratives. But when she's faced public criticism, like during the backlash for her comments about women and work ethics, or controversies involving her fashion choices and cultural appropriation, her responses tend to be either silent, carefully worded statements that aren't quite apologies, or redirection. That's classic Libra. It's not about refusing to apologize outright. It's about giving just enough to keep things looking smooth, without actually diving into accountability. Libra energy is all about finesse. If they do apologize, it's going to be wrapped in layers of charm, strategic phrasing, and sometimes even a little bit of denial, like "I'm sorry if you felt that way," or "that wasn't my intention," which, let's be real, isn't really an apology. It's a clever deflection. And again, it's not because they're heartless or manipulative. In fact, most Libras care deeply about relationships and how people perceive them. It's just that when push comes to shove, their fear of conflict and disharmony can actually make them avoid the kind of real, raw accountability that a true apology requires. This is where Libra can be frustrating in relationships. They'll avoid the messy, confrontational side of conflict, and that includes saying, "I was wrong." They'd rather smooth it over, buy you something nice, or post a cute selfie together to show the world everything's fine. But underneath that, there's a strong will. Libras are not weak, and they're not doormats. They know when they're right, and sometimes even when they're wrong, they'll stick to their side of the story, because admitting fault would shake the delicate balance they've worked so hard to maintain. The irony is, Libra's desire to avoid conflict can sometimes create more of it, all because they didn't want to say one honest sentence. So if you're with a Libra and waiting for an apology, don't be surprised if instead they just plan a romantic dinner and act like nothing happened. That is the apology. In their mind, at least. Number 4, Capricorn. Capricorns are known as the responsible, disciplined ones, the mature, structured, take-charge types. So why would they struggle with apologies? Well, it's not because they don't know they were wrong. It's because admitting they were wrong feels like failure, and failure to a Capricorn cuts deep. Capricorns are ruled by Saturn, the planet of structure, discipline, and long-term goals. Their identity is often wrapped up in their competence and authority, so when they mess up, especially in public or in a way that damages their image, it's not just a mistake, it's a threat to their core sense of self. Enter Denzel Washington. Born December 28th, Washington is a classic Capricorn, disciplined, respected, and image-conscious. But even he has had tense moments, like the infamous Oscar night confrontation between Will Smith and Chris Rock. While Denzel played the role of a peacemaker, his public comments afterwards stayed controlled and strategic, Never emotionally vulnerable or self-reflective. That's very Capricorn. Handle the crisis, maintain dignity, avoid emotional display. Capricorns don't like mess. They'd rather handle things behind the scenes. If they do apologize, it's usually framed around outcomes and consequences, never emotion. Something like, "This did not meet our standards and we'll do better next time." That's as close to "I'm sorry" as you'll probably get. And to be fair, Capricorns often do improve. They take criticism seriously. They'll change policies, correct course, and make strategic shifts. But they rarely, if ever, expose themselves to emotional vulnerability. To them, that's not productive. Capricorns also have a long memory. If you make a mistake, they'll remember it. But if they make one, they'll bury it, learn from it, and never speak of it again. That's their way of processing. And for those around them, it can be incredibly frustrating. Number 3, Scorpio. Scorpios are the deep, dark waters of the zodiac, mysterious, intense, and oh so hard to crack. When it comes to apologizing, Scorpio plays an entirely different game. It's not that they refuse outright, it's that they internalize so much and distrust so easily that an apology can feel like giving away their power. Scorpios have an almost primal need for control, so when they're clearly wrong in a situation, they might not say, "I'm sorry" outright, because it would mean ceding the upper hand. And trust me, Scorpios don't like doing that. They'd rather make it up to you in action, in secret, or through silent loyalty than ever put themselves in a vulnerable position by saying those 3 words. Now let's throw in a celebrity example here, Julia Roberts. Born on October 28th, Julia is a textbook Scorpio. Remember that infamous incident during the filming of Hook? There were rumors of her being difficult to work with, earning her the nickname Tinkerhell. Now, years later, the film's director, Steven Spielberg, made it clear that the experience wasn't the most pleasant. And while Julia has never directly apologized for any behavior during that period, she has navigated her career with calculated grace, quietly working with people again, building relationships, and almost creating a narrative of redemption without ever really saying sorry publicly. That's Scorpio energy in a nutshell. It's never loud. It's rarely apologetic in the traditional sense, but it's powerful, loyal, and very much about long-term moves. The Scorpio way is about emotional chess. They'll observe, analyze, and decide how to respond based on what gives them the strongest position. If they think an apology makes them look weak or opens them up to vulnerability, they will find another way to fix the situation, or sometimes they'll walk away completely, never looking back. Now let's be honest, that can drive some people nuts. If you're someone who values verbal closure, Scorpio can leave you dangling, wondering if they even realize the hurt they cause. But from their point of view, if they feel justified or wrong first, even if they reacted poorly, they'll see their actions as balance. To them, what they did was proportionate. And let's not forget, Scorpios have a strong moral compass. They might not always be quick to apologize, but they often carry a deep awareness of right and wrong. They'll carry guilt in silence, and that guilt might make them more protective of you later, more generous, more present. But the words, "I'm sorry," those might never come. Number 2, Leo. Leo, the royal of the zodiac. Ruled by the sun, Leo carries a strong sense of self and a desire to be admired and respected. And while they can be incredibly warm, generous, and loyal, one thing they struggle with? Admitting they were wrong. Leo's pride is their armor. They see themselves as leaders, as people to be looked up to. And a public apology, or even a private one, can feel like a blow to their dignity. It's not that they don't feel remorse. They do. But the idea of being seen as flawed, mistaken, or, God forbid, embarrassed, that's tough for them to process. Take Jennifer Lopez, for example. Born July 24th, J-Lo is a Leo through and through. She's charismatic, talented, and known for being a total powerhouse. But she's also been criticized for diva-like behavior, from dancers accusing her of favoritism to controversies about her demanding standards on sets. Now, has she ever gone on an apology tour? Nope. What she does instead is very Leo. She doubles down on excellence. She lets her performances, her work ethic, her brand, and her sheer glow do the talking. Leos often operate from a place of, I'll show you. If someone calls them out rather than apologize, they'll go harder. They'll dazzle. They'll dominate. It's a kind of unspoken redemption. You might not like what I did, but you can't deny I'm still the star. And honestly, a Leo's heart is usually in the right place. They don't typically hurt people on purpose, but when they do and they're called out, they'll either defend themselves to the death or quietly retreat to lick their wounds, only to return shining brighter, acting like it never happened. It's not malicious. It's just Leo pride. If they ever do apologize, it's often performative. Dramatic, big gestures, or grand statements like, I never meant to hurt anyone. That's not who I am. Which again, skirts real accountability. But love them or hate them, Leos make their impact. Just don't wait by the phone expecting a humble, quiet apology. That's not their style. Number 1, Aries. The undisputed champion of sorry not sorry energy, Aries. Aries is the first sign of the Zodiac, the fiery trailblazer, the bold, impulsive, action-oriented warrior. And let's be clear, Aries doesn't mean to offend. They're not out here plotting harm. But when they do mess up, especially in a moment of passion or aggression, they rarely stop to look back and assess the damage. Why? Because Aries is always moving forward. They don't dwell. They don't marinate in emotion. They explode, cool off, and move on. Apologizing means slowing down, reflecting, taking responsibility. And that's not something Aries naturally leans into. Let's look at Russell Crowe. Born April 7th, Crowe has had his fair share of temper-fueled incidents, phone throwing, fights with producers, fiery interviews. When things blow up, his response is often defiant or minimal. There might be a statement maybe, but not the kind of heartfelt, vulnerable, I was wrong that people often want. And that's textbook Aries. Passionate, bold, quick to react, but just as quick to move past it, often without circling back. Aries doesn't apologize because they often don't feel wrong. In their minds, they were reacting honestly. They were standing up for themselves. They were being real. And in a world where so many people tiptoe around their feelings, Aries sees their bluntness as a strength. This can be refreshing or incredibly frustrating, depending on which side of the blow-up you're on. Now, Aries can apologize, especially if they deeply care about someone, but it's usually fast and a little clumsy. Okay, fine, I'm sorry. Can we move on? It's not going to be poetic. It's not going to be drawn out. And don't expect them to revisit it later. Aries hates repetition. If they apologized once, that's it. Case closed. What they are good at is making amends through action. They'll do something kind, show up for you, or help you in a pinch as a way of saying, I'm still here. We're good, right? But if you're waiting for a long letter or emotional phone call, don't hold your breath. That's Aries, the fire starter, the warrior, the one who means well but barrels through life like a ram charging a wall. They're not trying to hurt you, but if they do, they'll probably hope you just bounce back as fast as they do. There you have it, the 5 Zodiac signs who are least likely to apologize, even when they're dead wrong. Not because they're bad people, but because ego, pride, fear of vulnerability, or sheer momentum get in the way. Which sign do you think is the hardest to get a sincere apology from? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more astrology that actually hits deep. See you next time.